Hey everybody, I'm Jeff. This is my kitchen, and this is Old Man Hiking. This is my Cookset. You will find this in some form or another in most backpackers' packs, except for the folks who go out and they eat nothing but berries and nuts and twigs and bark and grass. And those people are out there, and if any of you are watching this video, this is not the video for you. But what we'll do is take this apart piece by piece. I'll show you what's in it, and then we will weigh it and come to a final conclusion. So you'll notice, first of all, it is in a pretty nice mesh stuff sack. This comes with the cup, which is a Tokes titanium 750 ml cup. Now this on top had trouble getting it off there, is a Sea to Summit collapsible X cup. This is a great little thing to have. It is made out of neoprene. You can actually drink hot coffee out of this, like this, and it won't burn your fingers. They're not too expensive, about 10 bucks. I've seen knockoffs on Amazon for less. Easy to clean. When you're done with it, it just collapses right back down. And in my case, it sits right on top of the Tokes pot with no problem. Sometimes it gets so cozy I can't get it off of there. So we'll set that aside for a minute. As I said, the stuff sack comes with the Tokes cup. Being that it's made of titanium, it's extremely light. But the reason I like to carry both of these is that I can boil water, I can drink coffee while I'm boiling more water for breakfast, oatmeal or whatever. Has a handle that folds out like that, folds back against the sides for storage. And if you look at the earliest versions of these, if you look at some of these on YouTube and you look at the oldest reviews, you'll see there were a couple of complaints. One being that this would not stay straight up, that it wanted to fall over, and that the vent holes were too close here, so you would burn your fingers trying to get these, get the lid off. They have moved the vent holes out. They've also created, if you can see it right there, a little crease in this lid so that when you raise this up, you just pull it over to the side like that, and it lets that stand up so that if it's sitting over a fire, you can hook it. You can grab it if you're brave enough. You can hook it with a stick or something, or a tent stake, and just pull it off of there. Now we'll look and see what's inside the cup. Lid comes off. First thing you will see is my windscreen. I've just purchased this. I haven't actually used it yet, but this is also a Tokes brand, and it is made out of titanium. It's extremely thin. It feels almost paper thin. The only complaints I've heard about these is sometimes they're so light that they get blown over, but with the alcohol stoves or the Esbit, you really need something like this. So you can see that it folds out very easily. That would give you a world-class paper cut, I would think. It has vent holes at the bottom to allow air to filter in so that your flame can keep going. And you just literally wrap that around your pot once it's sitting on the stove to keep the wind from blowing your flame out. Part number one. Pull the rest of this out all together. You can see now the pot's empty. The rest of it, if you've watched the video I did on stoves, you will see that this is the Fancy Feast stove made out of cat food can and tomato soup can, a tomato sauce can with carbon felt or welder's blanket around here, wrapped around the bottom portion of this can as a wick. This is an alcohol stove. This is the alcohol. Now I don't have this marked, but I will before I use it. you have to make sure, since denatured alcohol is poisonous, you have to make sure that everyone knows this is not water, it's not hand gel, it's not shampoo. It is strictly for this. This is a 2-ounce bottle. It takes about an ounce to boil enough water to fix a meal. So this is enough for 2. I will generally carry a larger plastic bottle with a larger supply of alcohol with me to replenish this. It's just easier to pre-measure this out so you kind of know. And with alcohol or ESBIT, either one, you can calculate really well according to how many days you'll be out, how many meals you'll fix, how much of the alcohol or the ESBIT cubes, either one, you'll need. But for now, we're going to stick to the alcohol. If you figure 1 to 1.5 ounces for an average meal, it's really easy to calculate how much you need to carry. And 2 ways to start a fire. I also carry elsewhere in my pack fireproof matches, but if you have a Bic lighter, they also make these. There's a mini Bic lighter, which is probably about half that size, which is nice to have. And then the magnesium fire starter. This is a cheap one. This is a Coghlan's that I think I bought at Walmart. But this, I won't try to do this inside. But once you get alcohol in here and it starts to soak up through this wick, it's really easy to strike a spark against it and light this, or down in here, either one. So two ways to start a fire: the fuel, the stove, the windscreen, the cup itself, and my X cup that I absolutely love. That is my Cookset. So all of this together weighs 9.85 ounces. Or 280 grams, which is not bad for everything you need to cook a hot meal in the back country. All right, before we move on, I wanted to say one more thing about windscreens. That Toaks titanium screen that I showed earlier, I actually used a gift certificate I got for my birthday to buy it. They're about $10 or $11 at REI or on Amazon. But if you don't want to spend that much, you don't have to, because what I used first, and may still use actually at some point, sometimes, is a homemade windscreen. Go to the dollar store, go to Walmart, look at the disposable aluminum cookware where they have pie pans and that kind of thing, and they will have, these are oven liners, and they're large. They're made to fit in the bottom of an oven and catch everything that drips off of whatever you're baking. But you can take one of those and cut it up in strips, and you can make several homemade windscreens out of these. They are still extremely light because they're very thin aluminum, and what you do is cut them to fit, and then I always cut the corners off to round them off so you're not poking yourself with it. Use just a standard hole punch to put vent holes in the bottom so that your fire can get air. And then take a rolling pin and just roll these out flat. Roll all the creases out and everything, all the bends, and you just get a very flat piece of aluminum that it'll fold right up, slide right down in your cup, just like the titanium one does. You could make probably 3 of these for a couple of bucks by going to the dollar store. So were it not for a birthday gift card to REI, I'd still be using this, and I might still use this some. Anyway, just wanted to throw that in there. So we've gone over the entire cook kit. We know what's in there. We know what it's capable of. You have everything you need in here to fix your meal, get it nice and hot, get it ready to eat. What do you eat it with? I give you the spork. Now, you've seen these at fast food restaurants. In fact, I'm going to show you an example of that in a few minutes. This particular one is made out of titanium, half spoon, half fork. It has a bottle opener on the back in case you bring something that's in a bottle that you need to pop the top off of. It does have some cutouts in it, and I think these are just purely to save weight because this is titanium, so it's extremely strong. So instead of making these hollow, they have put these cutouts in here just to shave a little bit of weight off. Very, very handy to have. Again, titanium, very strong, but yet a little bit flexible. If there is a drawback to these, it is the fact that they are so short. Some of the Mountain House meals, you'll notice the pouches are fairly deep, and you can get down in there, but you'll end up in a lot of cases with food on your knuckles. And if that bothers you, that is a drawback to these as well. These come in a plastic version. You can get them fairly cheap, even at REI. They're not very expensive for the plastic ones. But as you can imagine, they're a lot more flexible. Sometimes you don't get enough resistance, and especially when you're trying to get something out of one of those meal pouches. I have known people to snap the plastic ones in half when using too much force. I've never had it happen to me, but I know it is possible. So. And they aren't any longer than this, so you have the same drawback. If food on your knuckles doesn't bother you, this is probably the guy for you, in either titanium or plastic. Next up, we have the titanium spoon. Not a spork, nothing on the end here but a spoon. This is going to work great for chilies, stews, anything that's soft that's coming out of a pouch. You don't need to like spear to get it up out of there. Now you'll notice the difference in the length. This is definitely going to keep your knuckles out of your food, that's for sure. It's a little more cumbersome in a pack because it is longer, but if that doesn't bother you, then it's definitely worth the convenience. Very little difference in weight between these two guys. I don't think you would notice either one in your pack. Now, titanium, yes, is expensive. So if you're not into spending that much money, you want to go a little bit cheaper. If you are just starting out and you're not sure, the answer to that is the restaurant spork. Obviously, it's even a little bit shorter than the titanium guy here, but Taco Bell, Chick-fil-A, Wendy's, places that sell soup or whatever, Wendy's and the chili, they'll have the spoons, they'll have the plasticware out, and you can just grab an extra set and throw them in your pack and kind of keep supplied all the time. Same issue with durability. This is even more flimsy than the more quality sporks that are dedicated for backpacking. These are intended for one meal use, and that's pretty much it. But throw 3 or 4 in your pack. Hey, if you go through half of them, doesn't matter because they were free. Even better, if you're concerned about the length, go to Dairy Queen. Buy something you have to eat with a spoon. Ask them for an extra one. You walk out with 2 of these. You notice the difference in the length. Not quite as long as this one, but definitely not as short as this one. And the price is right. It's free. And you get ice cream to boot. So, what's bad about that? Nothing at all. Again, the drawback would be the flexibility. Ooh, I cracked that one just kind of flexing it a little bit. But develop a collection of these, make a lot of trips to Dairy Queen. Sounds like a win-win to me. However, all of those aside, the very best example I can give you, born out of desperation, born out of hunger and starvation, not really, but to a 19-year-old kid on a camping trip who forgot to bring anything to eat with, it was a lifesaver. And that would be the homemade wooden spork. I decided to feature this because I've kept it all these years. It was a camping trip that my cousin Steve and I went on. It wasn't even really camping. We were in an old farmhouse that his mother owned, and we had a roof over our heads. We had mattresses on the floor to sleep on. We had a fire in the fireplace. We had food, but we didn't have anything to eat it with. So we made do. We went out, we found some branches, took our knives and we trimmed them down, and we had supper. I'm telling you, this is bushcraft at its most basic. It's not going to win any awards, but it got the job done. So, Steve, when you watch this, be sure and give it a thumbs up, because I know you miss yours and you don't have it anymore. Well, there you have it. Complete cook kit, utensils, everything you need to fix yourself a nice hot meal in the backcountry and enjoy it thoroughly while you're sitting on a rock or on a tree trunk or just on the ground looking at the scenery around you. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a few things. I hope you got some tips out of it. Hey, if you did, if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Leave us a like, or better yet, subscribe, because we're about to start hitting the trail for the spring, me and the other old men that hike with me, hopefully. And we'll be posting videos of those as we go. So if you're sitting on a couch, get off the couch. Come on out and join us and have a good time.